Hello, artist book people. We are going to make an accordion book with flags today. And to be more specific, I should say accordion spine with flags. And this is a really fun book to make, but also can be very interesting in terms of its potential for content. I'm pulling out a bunch of stuff. That aside. Okay, so this is what we're making. It's going to be a hardback book, an accordion spine, and whoop, these are the flags. So this is a nice, exciting sort of sculptural kind of book because it does this thing. And this is nice. All right, so thing number one, we are going to get our materials together and we'll just cover our Davy board, why don't we? You have a long piece like this. This is gonna be your accordion spine, so you can put that away for the moment. You are going to have some large decorative paper that you're gonna use for covering. And then you're gonna have an end paper, and this is your end paper. It covers up the inside of your book. And so this will cover up, whoop, the inside of my book. All right. I've got my a big pile of newsprint. I probably don't need that much. Let me put some of it aside. You guys are pros at this, but I'll walk through it. You've done it so many times now. I bet you're fantastic. I should have one of you guest star to show how to do this. All right. I am tracing my board. This is about an inch. So let's just say for our discussion, let's say this is 4 1/4, this is 5 1/2. This would end up being 7 1/2, right? And this would be 6 1/4 because 1, 4 1/4, 1 equals 6, etc. So I'm telling you this stuff so that when you do it yourself later, it's no problem. You can figure out all the measurements. Okay, we're cutting off the corners. We're using our Davy board for a measuring tool. All right, let's cut off our corners. Remember, we're always cutting to the right of our corner, and what we're trying to achieve is 1 1/2 times the board thickness in order to cover the edge nicely. So we have to, but there's no real super duper way for us to measure 1 1/2 times. I guess we could do it with a ruler, but I think this is probably just as good. So I'm cutting, but I'm not cutting all the way on that pencil mark, but just to the right of it. Yoink. All right, that's one. Let's do the other. Incidentally, this kind of paper is decorative paper. It's called paste paper. And it is a traditional Asian technique. And in its pure form, it's a mixture of rice paste or rice starch paste with pigment. And that pigment might originate as watercolor. It might originate as water-based silkscreen ink. It might originate as acrylic ink. So any of those things you can use, and you mix it with this paste. Now, some people do a mixture of cornstarch instead of the rice paste. The rice paste, I used to always do it in its purest form, and I would cook it and strain it and do all kinds of stuff. And it turned out great, right? But it was very time consuming. And so one day I just tried the cornstarch and my gosh, it was so much easier. That's all I do now. So usually in the summer, I make a whole bunch of this paper in the studio, and what you do is you just brush the paste on the surface, and then you can take like your old credit cards, better use for them, and cut them up with little ridges, or take combs, or take those, you can find them in hardware stores, you know, where you are supposed to put a pattern in cement or, you know, glue to make something adhere better. Anyway, they look like little notched pieces of plastic, and you can drag them through and make these decorative papers. Anyway, that's how I made those. If you're interested, at some point, I have a whole recipe for it in my office and directions. So I could hook you up with that if you wanted. Okay, here we are. Glue from the center, nice and thin, but covering the whole thing on my piece of newspaper. The noisy enterprise. Okay, lifting this up, getting rid of this gluey piece of paper, putting it down on a nice clean piece of paper, putting my board right on top. All right, I'm gonna do the top and bottom. I'm gonna fold those over using the paper. And then I'm gonna fold this over using the paper. Really smooth that out. I'm pulling on this to make sure it's nice and tight, right? So I make good contact. The overlap, I'm gonna squish with my bone folder. Squish towards the inside. Squish, squish. And as long as my glue is still dry, or excuse me, still wet, I don't want it to be dry. I'm gonna fold that over there. Boink. There are double-sided sticky films. So in other words, like, you know, a sheet of adhesive that you can buy. It's expensive to do this work. And it's really nice because it's dry and you can get it so that it's archival. And so that's a very nice thing to have. I would give that to you, but I'm afraid it is above our pay grade. But if you're making something on your own and not for an entire class, it might be something that you look into. You can find it at an art store. And there are different manufacturers of it. Basically, you just need to ask for double-sided sheets of adhesive. And I believe I bought it from Dick Blick. I know that I bought it from Artisan Craftsman. It's really good for collage too. Basically, you stick it on and then one side has paper on it that you can peel off when you're ready to stick the thing down. So when you're ready, you can just peel it off, boop, and there's adhesive all over your thing. So if you're a collage artist, it's really great. But it's also good for book artists too, because boop, if I could just peel off a film, that might be kind of nice. Frankly, it doesn't make any difference for this sort of application. When you start getting bigger, right, and glue becomes an issue because of its drying time and your ability to get it nice and even, might be something you look into. Okay, got that. I'm gonna smash down my little overhang. Smash. And then that's so sticky. Smashing that down too. All right, so our boards are covered. No weird wrinkles. If I had weird wrinkles, then I would gently put a piece of paper over it and try to smooth it out with my bone folder. I usually find it's good to work from the inside out, but I don't have to worry about it because I don't have any funky things going on. All right, where is this? Okay, so basically, this is what I'm making, all right? It's an accordion. It's all the same size, so we don't really have to measure it. Your piece of paper has already been folded in half, so I'm gonna just make a nice crease there. And then I'm gonna do my regular old accordion fold. And if you don't remember it from our accordion demonstration, I'll refresh your memory. So folded it in half, then we're folding the sides to the middle, all right? Flip it over, do the same thing with this. I'm just folding it to the middle, flattening it, smooshing it, right? And so this is the first go around, it looks like this. You might have it so it looks like this. It's all about perspective. All right, now I'm gonna take this and I wanna caution you about something, or actually encourage you about something. If your folds are going in the wrong direction, that's no big deal. You can just fold them in the right direction, okay? So I don't want you to get all worked up about that. Okay, so now I'm gonna fold these little fellows in half. And these little fellows in half. Oops, maybe I'll do it now. That's good. All right, so I got something like this. Uh-oh, I folded that the wrong way. Okay, so I've got this, right? Now I need to fold this side and this side so everything's even. That looks good. What I was looking at was to see if it's even. Sometimes it's easy to start kind of stair-stepping it in a way where you lose the thickness of the paper each time and it isn't all the way uniform or flat. Let me see if I've done a good job. This is oh, it looks pretty good. So this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for all of these to be even and not like do 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 do. All right, that's what I want. All right, so this now looks like this, right? 3 peaks. Let me turn this around. That's how I want it to be if it's going to match. All right, this is going to be the front because this flap and this flap are going to be glued down to the board. All right, now I need my flags. That's what these little strips are about. These are my flags. I've got some different colors. Let's see, what do I want to do? Well, let's do some blue. I'm gonna be using 9 in total for this, so 3 on each page. And what makes this work is the fact that they're going to be in different directions. So I'll explain that. Show you this one too. It's the same way. This is on this side, this side, etc. Okay? So what I'm gonna do to make this as easy as possible, I'm gonna make a little X where this side, the left side, should be. So I've got this, right? This is gonna be glued down, so this is my first little peak that I'm gonna be putting stuff on. So I'm gonna put a little X at the top and an X at the bottom, okay? Now, I'm going to take my next peak, right? So there's a valley, here's a peak, and flatten that down, little X. Hello, X. And then I'm gonna do it again for 3 times in total, so I'm gonna have 6 X's in total, all right? Can you see that? All right, now in the middle, I'm gonna put my O's. So it's gonna happen on the opposite side as the X's. So the opposite side of the X's is this side. Little O in the middle. Oh, 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 and I'll have 3 O's. So this helps me conceptualize the colors, if that's something that's really important. And it's pretty important. So 6 of those, these are gonna be my X's. 1, 2, this sort of sticky, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you're planning one of these on your own, you know, you could do these in different lengths. Mine are even, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. It doesn't have to be 3 rows. It could be 4 rows. It could be 5 rows. It could be 6 rows. Whatever you need, right? They could be skinnier. They could be fatter. Doesn't matter. Well, it does matter to you, but my point is there's no hard and fast rule here. I have made this so that these are like pages. If we look at them flat here, right? This is like the pages of a book. So I measured how far I wanted this to go out, and I thought of it in terms of a page. So this is, let's measure it. I can guess, but it's probably better if we wouldn't actually measure something. This is 4 1/4, okay? So it's 4 1/4 that way. I've cut these so that I have a gap here. I don't want that gap Let me show you better. Gap, gap. I don't want that gap to be too small, or this operation is not going to be smooth. It'll get all caught up. So I've left, what are we going to call that? Maybe 1/4 of an inch? Yes, we'll call that 1/4 of an inch. I have 1/4 of an inch in between my little strips. All right, 6 of these. I'm quite fond of hot pink. Should I do it all? No, do it in orange. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, those are my O's. These are my X's. Let's start by gluing our X's. So I'm going to slip this under here, and I'm going to, apply my glue. This is about 2 inches. Let's measure it just for the fun of it, because it's fun to measure. Actually, this is 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna eyeball 1.5 inches in here. I'd say that's 1.5 inches. And with this, we can do our little form here, but we just don't wanna drag glue back over. I'm gonna line this up at the top, all right? The gaps are gonna happen on the interior. So that's one there. I'm gonna put another one downstairs towards the foot. It came out a little high-pitched foot. Foot. So I'm putting this up to the fold here, right? But not over it, or I won't be able to fold it. And I don't want to leave too much of a gap between that and that, or this will get too long. So I've done that for that side. Okay, good. Now I'm going to do it for this side. Next one. Press it down. It's a beautiful day outside. We're having such a lovely start to our fall. Okay, that looks good, right? I can fold it. Okay, here's my last one of the X's. Now, this is pretty straightforward because of the colors, right? It's easy. Oh, I did 2 at one time. I am such a daredevil. Okay, glue that one down. Glue that one down. So I am applying the glue to the flag or the strip, not this, not the accordion, because I can make sure that I don't have glue oozing out. If I did this way, it'd be hard to control. All right. Let's flip this baby over. Now we have something that looks like this when it's folded down, something like this when it comes up, okay? So I'm gonna fold this down again, and I'm gonna look for my O's. My O is where I'm gonna glue down my next strips. You may have a complicated situation, right? So, meaning, your arrangement might be complicated because you're trying to do an image or something like that for your book, one of your projects. So I suggest to you that you do a dummy like this so that you can figure out where things lay. As a matter of fact, that's good for any kind of book that you're planning, is to make one where you basically are just scribbling out where things are gonna fall so that when you do the construction later, you have that all figured out. So this is about 1/4 of an inch between the strips. I probably could have done a little bit less, but I wanted to make sure that this worked. Okay, I'm tempted to put it there, right? But I'm not going to do it. I'm gonna put it right here, where my O is. Geez Louise, that's where it is. Turn the page, another spot for O. All the way to the crease, but not over it. Uh-oh, got a little bit of glue there because it was on my fingers. All right, done. That's what it looks like folded. Now remember, it's fragile right now because the glue is still wet, but it does that, which is like so cool, right? It doesn't get cooler than that. All right, this and this is where it's gonna attach. Here's my cover. I'm gonna do the back side first. Doesn't really matter because this is pretty much going to be the same back and front, but just for the sake of our discussion. So it's going to glue down right here. Just keep a little bit of paper there. And what I'm going to be doing is lining it up with the edge. So it should be flush on one side with the edge of this cover. So I'll show you what I mean. So that has glue on it. Now I'm going to carefully place it against this edge, right? Lined up against this. But I've designed this so there's about 1/8 of an inch at the top and bottom, okay? You see? That's what it is. So now I'm going to glue the other side. And you know how I like to slip a piece of paper under here just to be all seriously neat and tidy. Okay, pull that out. Now I need my other cover. Now, it should line up perfectly, but the most important thing is these covers line up together. Because if you have covers that are all askew, it looks terrible. And it functions even worse. So, it feels pretty good to me. All right, these feel kind of lined up. All right, carefully, I'm going to press this down. I use some newsprint on top. I have torn so many pieces of paper because I've lost my mind and gone, you know, you get impatient and you think, oh, I'm just gonna fix it. And you fix it, all right. You fix it so you have to do it all over again because you just tore the piece of paper. All right, look at this. Uggly a wuggly, right? We need to cover this up. So, this should be cut. It might not be perfect. Mine's slightly off. Okay, so this is designed so it should be this size. This one's better than the other one. All right, it should go over the entire thing, right? Up to where it folds. So this spot, that's what we're aiming for. And there should be a little bit of a gap at the top and bottom and the side. I should fire the person that cuts all my paper, but that person is me. I've got glue all over the place. That's good. Here's my thing. I'll lay this down. I want to get that right into where the crease is. Boink. All right, looking pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, flatten that down. Now, if this is off a little bit, apologies. I'm sorry. You should complain to the teacher. Oops. Okay, so here we go. Little tiny bit hanging over, but when you design this for yourself, you're gonna make it absolutely perfect. This is a dummy book, so this tiny little spot is not gonna keep you up at night, or it should not. Okay, here we go. Let's do this again. Now, when you do your dummy books, make them ugly, right? You don't need to make them pretty like this. Use just like plain paper and lay things out so that you can figure out where things go. And if it involves text or it involves images that need to line up, you know, photocopy them or something and then cut them out and put them down where they need to belong so that you have a plan. Book arts is, you know, it depends, of course, how you approach things, but it's not highly spontaneous if you want things to land in the same spot. And because the craftsmanship of this is something that really contributes to your appreciation of it, you do not want to skimp on that unless there's a conceptual reason. And let me tell you, folks, you better have a darn good concept if it's conceptual, okay? Or it needs to be really intrinsic to the way you work, like Mr. Kiefer. Boink! Now, look at us. We have made yet another hybrid. We are on fire with our pamphlets that are hybrids with accordions. Now, there's no pamphlet involved in this, but there was an accordion spine, all right? So this is a fancy schmancy book with flags. Yay! And I believe it's in one of your handouts. Let me see. It's somewhere. Here it is. Whoops, nope. Here it is. Pamphlet book variations. It must be in there. Yes, and there's something else I want to show you too. I wanted just to point this out because your first project, I made a video about that, and I showed you some examples of things that students have done in the past. And one of the things I mentioned was this Z-fold, and I described it in the video, but it's an accordion here. Boink, 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 right? So this gets glued down to the cover, this gets glued down to the cover, but the pamphlet is sewn here and here. It's also called a do-si-do, and what's nice about it is that it allows you to have two stories that you can flip back and forth to. So this is like its own complete story. This is its own complete story, if you like, if that's your aim. So that is described in here. It's the pamphlet variation with 2 sections, 4 holes, do-si-do spine with a hard board cover. Now, the pamphlets I've done in here, I do 2 different versions. I do one with 4 holes and one with 3 holes. If you've got a bigger piece of paper, you want more holes. So that means more support. We're doing little tiny books at the moment, and 3 holes is perfectly fine. But in here we also have, this is 3 hole, and then we have 4 hole. Okay, so if you want to look that up, do it. And if you got a bigger book, you can go up to, you can have as many holes as you like, but then it starts becoming this other sort of sewing pattern, which isn't hard. It's just something you have to plan for. So look at this handout that I've given you, because there are actually directions in here of variations that might be suitable for your project. We will not be doing a demo on the Z-fold because I think it's pretty intuitive, right? You might want to try one out just for fun. So we are just buzzing along now. We have made an accordion with flags. We made a hybrid accordion and pamphlet in our last demonstration. We've made accordions galore. Oh, we've made the plain old pamphlet. You guys have really got it together. So thank you for listening, and I will see you next demonstration.